Imagine a young guy waking up one morning and thinking, today feels like the perfect day to head for the mountains. His name was Storm Debel, a 22-year-old adventurer from Belgium. Ordinary name? Not at all. Storm wasn't a nickname, it was the name his parents gave him at birth, almost as if they knew their son would always be tied to the elements. Storm was an only child. His parents split up when he was still a teenager, and maybe that's why he found comfort in the solitude of the woods. Out there, no one slammed doors or shouted in the kitchen. Just the sound of wind in the branches and the crackle of twigs beneath his boots. From early on, Storm was different from the kids around him. While his friends played soccer or hung out at shopping malls, he dreamed of hikes and campfires. At first, his parents couldn't understand. Why choose the forest over the comfort of home? But Storm already knew the answer. Nature gives you something you'll never find inside four walls. In August of 2024, he launched his YouTube channel, StormOutdoorsy. No flashy thumbnails, no dramatic titles like "Almost Died in the Woods." Just honest videos about a guy traveling across Northern Europe with a backpack and a camera. He drove an old but faithful car, filming his hikes, camps, and pack raft trips along the way. So, what's a pack raft? Picture an inflatable boat, about the size of a big suitcase, weighing just 2 kilos. You can fold it into your backpack, carry it anywhere, then inflate it in 10 minutes and paddle down any river. For someone like Storm, it was perfect. No need for companions, no need to coordinate. Just grab the boat and go. Maybe you've heard of silent solo hiking. It's a genre on YouTube that's still fairly new. No shouting, no wild monologues to the camera. You simply walk the trail, whisper a few comments here and there, and let the scenery speak for itself. Sounds boring? Not really. Millions of people fall asleep to those videos or play them for meditation. That's exactly what Storm was drawn to. His videos felt like a breath of fresh air in a world of clickbait. He could walk for half an hour along a forest path without saying a word, and it was mesmerizing. Viewers left comments like, "Finally, someone showing nature without the noise." Belgium may be small, but Storm never stayed confined to its borders. He roamed across Northern Europe, the Netherlands, Northern Germany, Denmark, Southern Sweden. Everywhere he found hidden trails, forgotten forests, secret lakes. Still, he never strayed too far from his car, always keeping an exit strategy. That detail mattered. Storm wasn't the reckless kind. He studied maps, checked weather forecasts, planned his routes. He knew nature, especially in the north, doesn't forgive carelessness. Even in summer, temperatures could drop to 0, and fog could roll in so thick you couldn't see your hands. He had one rule: always tell someone your plan. Whether it was his parents or friends, it didn't matter who. Just someone who knew where he was going and when he'd be back. That's Survival 101. Still, even the most careful hikers sometimes get caught by the weather. His videos gathered modest but steady views. Storm didn't chase virality. He made content for those who got it. City dwellers longing for a moment of calm, or fellow solo travelers who saw themselves in his journeys. Winter was his favorite season. Many think forests in winter are bleak and lifeless, too cold, too dark, too dangerous. But Storm saw a different beauty. Snow-covered pines, the crunch of frost, air so clear it almost sparkled. In one video he said, "Winter clears the forest of casual visitors. Only those who truly love it remain." What made Storm's work stand out wasn't just the landscapes, it was his honesty. He never tried to play the hero or the expert. In one clip, he admits he's terrified of spiders. In another, he struggles to light a fire in the rain. That vulnerability made him relatable. Finally, a creator who didn't pretend to be invincible. There were places he kept coming back to, like de Hoogveluwe National Park in the Netherlands. He called it his natural battery, the place he went to recharge. There, he filmed his most meditative videos. Still lakes at sunrise, close-ups of moss, the rhythm of rain on his tent. Comments poured in from people living in big cities. "Thanks for showing us real nature. Your videos help me fall asleep after a long day. Watching this makes me dream of a weekend in the woods." Storm read every comment and often replied. For him, it wasn't about numbers. It was about real people his work touched. His gear was simple but reliable. No expensive sponsorships, no glossy unboxings. Just solid tools that lasted. A good sleeping bag, a lightweight tent, merino wool thermals. In one video he says, "I'm not a rich guy, so I buy things that will last for years." By the winter of 2024, Storm was more active than ever. He filmed a series on winter camping in the Ardennes, a rugged region in Belgium. He showed how to sleep in a tent below freezing, how to keep your sleeping bag warm, how to cook hot meals on a small stove. It wasn't about extreme survival. It was practical advice for anyone curious to try winter hiking. At first, his family worries about his winter trips. His mom often calls, reminding him to be careful. His dad, even though he lives apart after the divorce, follows his son's channel closely and worries too. But Storm reassures them. He has a plan, he has the right gear, he has the experience. To his viewers, Storm isn't just another YouTuber, he feels more like a friend. The quiet kid from class who knew every shortcut in the woods and could talk about birds for hours. Maybe that's why his channel grows slowly but steadily. People don't subscribe for cheap thrills. They subscribe for the sense of calm his videos bring. October of 2024. Storm stands over a map of Sweden, his finger resting on a spot far to the north. Jokkmokk, a small town in Swedish Lapland, beyond the Arctic Circle. For most, just a name on a map. For Storm, it's the gateway to one of the wildest places in Europe. Why Lapland? Imagine a land where snow covers the ground 8 months of the year, where the sun never rises for weeks in winter and never sets in summer. This is the home of the Sami people, who have herded reindeer here for thousands of years. A place without city noise, without cell service, without paved roads. Just tundra, lakes, and endless forests. Storm plans a route through the Jokkmokk region, one of the most remote corners of Europe. It's the size of a small country, with only a few hundred people scattered across thousands of square kilometers. If something goes wrong, help might be hours away. But for true adventurers, that's part of the pull. He pores over topographic maps, checks weather reports, reads other travelers' accounts. The plan seems simple. Park his car by Lake Leitor, follow the trail along its scenic shoreline, shoot a few videos about life in the wild, and return in 2 or 3 days. The distance is modest, maybe 20 to 30 kilometers. For an experienced hiker, practically a stroll. But Lapland is deceptive. Summer here is mild, the trails clear, the white nights letting you walk whenever you like. Autumn changes everything. Temperatures can plunge 20 degrees overnight. Snow can fall without warning. And then there are the Arctic storms, blizzards that can bury whole villages in a matter of hours. Storm knows this, but October feels like the perfect time. The tourist season is over. No one else on the trails. Nature is shifting into winter, a chance to capture something unique. The cold isn't unbearable yet. A tent will do just fine. At least, that's what he tells himself. His gear is solid. A sleeping bag rated for -20, a 4-season tent, merino wool base layers. This time, he adds something new. Heavy cookware for campfire meals. His recent cooking in the wild videos drew a lot of attention, and he wants to film more. His Osprey backpack is stuffed to the brim. Along with the usual kit, it holds potatoes for baking in the coals, a folding saw for firewood, and an axe for splitting branches. Altogether, about 25 kilos. Heavy for a solo trek, but Storm is confident he can handle it. He records a video plan for his audience. Friends, I'm heading into Lapland. I'll be cooking over open fire in the northern wilderness. No people, just me, the forest, and the camera. His voice carries excitement. This is going to be a special series. The drive to Jokkmokk takes a full day. Storm crosses Sweden from south to north, civilization slowly fading into wild country. First farmland, then dense forests, and finally, vast tundra dotted with stunted birches. Lake Leitor greets him with perfect stillness. It's one of Lapland's most photogenic spots, a glassy surface ringed by low mountains. Rising above the lake are the peaks of Tjäkkali, Namasji, and Skierfa. The Sami consider them sacred, as if they hold some ancient energy. Storm parks at a small lot by the shore. Silence surrounds him. No trace of civilization, just the gentle lap of water on stones and the whisper of wind through the birch scrub. He pulls out his camera and films his first shots. The weather is ideal, sunny, calm, about 5 degrees above freezing. In his last upload, he tells viewers, "Here it is, real Lapland. Tomorrow I'm heading into the wilderness. I'll show you what life looks like far from the modern world." He looks happy, confident. This is his element. Solitude in untouched nature, but the weather forecasts are already shifting. Meteorologists warn of an Arctic front moving in, bringing sharp cold and snow. Storm sees it too, but shrugs it off. He's seasoned. He can handle whatever comes. Or so he believes. Morning of October 29th. Storm wakes in his car by Lake Laitor. The thermometer reads -2. Not the most pleasant camping temperature, but manageable for someone like him. He brews coffee on a portable stove and films a quick Instagram clip. Good morning from Lapland. The adventure begins. The landscape around him feels deceptively calm. Rolling hills covered with birch and juniper. Wide open stretches of moss and lichen between the trees. Beautiful? Absolutely. Safe? Not entirely. Here, there are almost no natural shelters. No cliffs, no dense woods, no caves. If the weather turns, there's nowhere to hide. But Storm stays optimistic. He keeps posting updates, sharing the raw beauty of the north with his followers. His Instagram stories show snow-dusted birches, steaming cups of coffee, and a neatly packed backpack. Under one photo, he writes, "This is what real freedom looks like." On YouTube, his most recent upload, Camping in the Forest Without Shelter, has been climbing in views for a week. Viewers are amazed by his skill, praising him in the comments. "You're a real hero. Show us more places like this. I envy your courage." Storm reads every message and feels the weight of expectation. He can't let his audience down. He needs to capture something truly unforgettable. Maybe that's why he pushes deeper into the wilderness, despite the warnings in the forecast. Around noon, he shoulders his heavy pack and leaves the car behind. The plan is simple. Reach a scenic spot at the base of Mount Jacali, set up camp, cook dinner over an open fire, and film it all. It's only 15 kilometers, a distance he expects to cover in 4 or 5 hours, enough time to pitch his tent before dark. But within the first hour, things begin to shift. The wind grows stronger, clouds swell into heavy gray masses, and the temperature falls faster than predicted. By 2 o'clock, the thermometer reads 5 below zero. In Lapland, the weather can turn in minutes. Arctic and Atlantic air collide here, creating wild, unpredictable systems. The Sami have a saying, "Winter can come any day of the year in the tundra." Storm knows it well, but he hopes October is still too early for true winter. He keeps filming, sharing moments with his followers. In one post he writes, "Cloudy but beautiful. Nature is showing its character." The photo shows him smiling under a darkening sky. Everything still feels under control. By 3, the first snowflakes drift down. Big, sparse, almost harmless. Storm is thrilled. Snow will make the footage even more striking. He shoots slow-motion clips of the flakes falling and messages friends. "Lapland greets me with snow." By 4, it's no longer gentle. Snow thickens, the wind rises to 30 kilometers an hour, and visibility shrinks to just 50 meters. Storm realizes what's happening. A real blizzard is rolling in. He knows the rules for survival. Find shelter, stay calm, conserve energy, tell someone where you are. He tries to do all of it, but the tundra offers no hiding places, just low shrubs and open ground. The best he can find is a shallow dip between hills, a fragile shield from the wind. By 4:30, he sends out his final messages. To his grandmother, "I'm caught in a snowstorm, but I've got everything I need. Don't worry, I'll be fine." To a friend, a short video showing snow blasting sideways in the gale. His voice is calm, but tense. "This is a real blizzard. I'll have to stop early." By then, the wind is howling at 120 kilometers per hour. The temperature has dropped to 6 below, but with the wind chill, it feels like -18. This is no longer bad weather. It's an Arctic storm, the kind that can kill in a matter of hours. Storm scrambles to set up his tent. The heavy pack slows him down, and the wind tries to tear each piece of gear from his hands. Even with gloves, his fingers are going numb. Zippers and knots feel impossible, but he manages. The tent is up, the sleeping bag unfurled, the stove lit. In what will be his last video, he says, "Well, friends, this is the real adventure. The storm is strong, but I'm safe. Tomorrow I'll show you how it all looks in daylight." He doesn't know that this recording will be his final one. The storm is only just beginning. 6 in the evening. Storm sits inside his tent, listening to the roar outside. It sounds like a jet engine, constant, deafening, vibrating through his bones. This is no longer just a snowstorm. It's a full-blown Arctic hurricane. The tent stands in a shallow hollow among twisted birches, stunted, wind-bent trees no taller than 2 meters. Not the best shelter, but the only one the tundra offers. Storm does what seasoned hikers taught him. He builds a snow wall. Using his avalanche shovel, he piles snow along the windward side, stacking it into a barrier half a meter high. It's brutal work, every scoop undone by gusts that bury his progress in seconds. But he keeps at it, packing block after block. He knows the truth. This flimsy wall could mean the difference between life and death. By 7, the temperature has plunged to 18 below. With the wind, it feels like -30. Frostbite can strike in minutes. Storm feels the cold biting through his layers, creeping into his sleeping bag, pressing against the thin nylon walls. The wind climbs to 140 kilometers an hour. Imagine a car flying down a highway. That's the force pounding against a scrap of fabric. Each gust rattles his shelter like an earthquake. Inside, chaos builds. The canopy bows so low it brushes Storm's face. He braces it with his hands, but it's like trying to hold back a train with bare arms. The aluminum poles groan and bend, shrieking under the strain. He knows, if they snap, the tent is finished. He reinforces where he can, ski poles as splints, his pack as a brace, every guy line pulled taut. But the storm is merciless. Nature is reminding him who's in charge. Snow seeps in through every seam. Zippers buckle under the pressure. Fabric stretches. Fine powder sprays inside. Soon the floor is coated in a thin layer of snow, melting into icy water under his body heat. Storm fires up his stove, trying to melt snow for water, trying to chase away the chill, but the flame sputters, gasping against the drafts. Inside the tent, it's barely above freezing, nowhere near enough for real comfort. By 8, he tries to film again. His hands shake, his voice breaks with strain. "Friends, I'm in a serious storm. The wind is unbelievable. The tent is holding, but barely." Behind him, the wind screams like a freight train. But the worst is still to come. Meteorologists note the cyclone is still strengthening. The storm's eye is heading straight for his position. Soon the winds will reach 180 kilometers an hour. Tornado speeds. By 9 that night, the thing he feared most finally happens. One of the tent poles gives way with a sharp crack. Half the shelter collapses, pressing Storm down into the snow. He's suddenly buried beneath fabric, bent aluminum, and the weight of drifts piling on top. There's no panic, not yet. He reacts the way he was trained, free himself, assess the damage, try to repair. But out here, in this storm, even a simple fix becomes an act of desperation. Outside, it's pitch black. In Lapland, the polar night stretches for months, and by October, the sun is gone by 4 in the afternoon. His only light comes from a headlamp, but the batteries are fading fast in the cold. Storm realizes he's trapped. Step outside and the wind will kill him. Stay inside a broken shelter and the cold will do the same. Dawn is still hours away, and the storm shows no sign of weakening. With numb fingers, he pulls out his satellite communicator, the one device that can send an SOS from anywhere. Somehow, he presses the red button. The signal bounces skyward, finds a satellite, and races toward the rescue service. But no one can reach him tonight. Helicopters don't fly in winds this strong, and ground teams can't cross a whiteout tundra. He's alone, facing the storm. By 10 o'clock, he's huddled in the wreck of his tent, wrapped in his sleeping bag, knowing it's down to survival. Either he lasts until morning, or Lapland takes another life. What he doesn't know is that the storm will rage not for hours, but for days. Midnight, October 30th. Storm is no longer fighting only the weather. He's fighting his own body. Hypothermia isn't just feeling cold, it's a shutdown, one system at a time, like batteries running out. First, the body sacrifices the extremities. Blood retreats from fingers and toes to protect the heart, lungs, brain. His hands won't move. His legs feel like stone, every action an agony. He tries to rub warmth into his fingers, but they don't even register touch. At 35 degrees, the shivering starts, violent, exhausting, the body's last attempt to create heat. But shivering burns energy he doesn't have. He shakes so hard he can't hold his phone, can't zip a jacket, can barely breathe. By 32 degrees, the brain begins to fail. Thought slows, logic unravels, reality twists. There's a name for it: paradoxical undressing. The desperate illusion of heat that makes people strip away their clothes at the edge of death. Around 2 in the morning, disaster strikes. The storm reaches its peak, 180 kilometers an hour. The last of the tent rips away, whether from a branch, a snapped pole, or just the sheer force of wind. Suddenly he's exposed. Open sky, open tundra, the full fury of an Arctic hurricane. Something slams into his face. Maybe a broken pole, maybe flying debris. His nose breaks with the impact. Blood freezes instantly, sealing his skin with ice. Pain flares, then dulls. His body too far gone to feel it fully. At 2:36, he manages to trigger his personal locator beacon, reaching Sweden's SOS alarm service. He reports his injuries, maybe broken nose, pleads for help. His voice cracks, words scatter, the hypothermia already clouding his mind. The dispatcher tries to pin down his location, but the line cuts out. His phone dies, or the cold kills it. On the other end, there's only the roar of wind. Rescue teams understand the gravity, but nature sets the limits. Helicopters grounded, ground teams blocked by zero visibility and snow-choked terrain. No one can reach him. Hypothermia enters its final phase, terminal burrowing. Like an injured animal searching for a den, the body drives him to crawl, to find a hole, a shelter, anywhere small and dark. Logic is gone. Instinct takes over. Maybe he tries for the car, 15 kilometers away. Maybe he looks for a cave, a rock face, anything to shield him. But his balance is gone, his legs unresponsive. He stumbles, crashes face first into the snow. The broken nose smashes into ice, pain flaring through the haze. He tries to rise, but his body won't obey. When they find him later, his legs and calves will be frozen solid, 4th-degree frostbite, tissue beyond saving. Even if he had lived, amputation would have been certain. But Storm isn't thinking of the future anymore. Consciousness flickers, fading like embers. His last thoughts drift homeward, his family, the warmth of his childhood bed in Belgium. His body grants him one final mercy, unconsciousness. By 4 a.m., October 30th, Storm Debel, 22 years old, seeker of wild places, stops breathing. He slips away into the silence of the Arctic night, wrapped in wind and snow. His body is found outside the tent, a mystery to his mother. Why leave the only shelter? But survival experts know the answer. In the last stage of hypothermia, you are no longer yourself. Instinct erases reason, and sometimes those instincts guide you not toward safety, but toward the end. The storm rages another full day. Snow buries every trace, erasing the scene of his final camp. What remains is silence. Nature takes back what is hers, leaving no witnesses. October 30th, morning. In Belgium, an elderly woman stares at her phone, worry growing heavier by the minute. Storm's grandmother had received his last message the night before. "It's snowing hard here, but don't worry, I'll survive. You know me." Since then, nothing. She knows him better than anyone. Storm always checked in, always answered, always let someone know how he was doing. If he's silent for more than half a day, something's terribly wrong. At 8 a.m., she calls the Swedish rescue service. The rescuers already know his name. The night before, an SOS signal had pinged from the Lake Laitor area. A young man reported injuries, a possible broken nose, and a critical situation. But in the teeth of an Arctic hurricane, a night rescue would have been suicide. All night long, meteorologists tracked the cyclone. Winds hit 180 kilometers an hour. Visibility dropped to 0. Temperatures plunged to -18. Helicopters don't fly above 80 kilometers an hour. Ground teams couldn't reach through the whiteout. All they could do was wait. By 10 a.m., the storm eases slightly, down to about 100 kilometers an hour. Still dangerous, but just within the limits of a rescue flight. A veteran pilot with 20 years in Arctic conditions makes the call. They'll try. Even for him, it's a razor-edge gamble. The search doesn't take long. At 10:45, the crew spots a dark shape against the snow. It's Storm's body, half buried, 2.5 kilometers from his camp. Too far to be an accident, too close for a real escape attempt. The helicopter sets down half a kilometer away, the closest the pilot dares. Rescuers hike through the gale. What they find explains everything. Storm lies face down, arms stretched forward, as if he'd been crawling towards something. Scattered around him are fragments of gear, a sleeping bag, scraps of food, even his toothbrush. His backpack is nearly empty, stripped of everything but a sleeping bag and that toothbrush. His legs and calves are frozen stiff, but his arms show signs of use, clawing, digging, maybe trying to carve out shelter in the snow. Back at his campsite, the rescuers find the wreckage, a shredded tent, snapped poles, gear scattered to the wind. The picture is clear. The storm destroyed his shelter, and he tried to find another. But disoriented by hypothermia, he walked not toward his car but the wrong direction. It's common in the final stages of hypothermia. The brain misfires, logic dissolves. Survivors call it paradoxical behavior, heading into nowhere when safety lies behind. Extracting his body is brutal work. The helicopter can only take minimal weight. Every extra kilo, a risk in the storm. His gear is left behind for later recovery. At the hospital in Jokkmokk, doctors confirm what everyone feared: hypothermia. His body temperature had dropped below survival levels until his heart simply stopped. Additional injuries: a broken nose, bruises from falls, severe frostbite. But the cold was the killer. Forensic reports show he fought to the end. Tracks in the snow reveal he fell, got up, fell again. At some point, he dumped everything unnecessary, clinging only to essentials. But the human body has limits, and his were overwhelmed. His parents arrive in Sweden the next day. For them, it's not just losing a son, it's losing a dream they never fully understood, but always quietly supported. His mother tells reporters, "He died doing what he loved. We only hope someone finds his camera. The footage from his last journey must still be there." Searchers comb the site for days, but the main camera never turns up. Some gear is recovered under the snow, but the lens through which he saw the world remains missing. Maybe it's buried deep, maybe swept into the lake, maybe hidden where only Storm knew. For now, it's a mystery. Later, his grandmother says, "My eldest grandson, our athlete and lone wanderer, Storm, was found dead on October 30th in Swedish Lapland. He was caught in a snowstorm just a day's walk from his goal. Rescuers couldn't reach him in time because of the weather." Thus ended the story of a 22-year-old adventurer who wanted to share the beauty of wild places, but became one of its victims. Lapland claimed another life, a reminder that nature is breathtaking, but merciless when underestimated. November of 2024. Online, grief spreads like wildfire. Followers of StormOutdoorsy learn of the tragedy through the news. His final videos fill with farewell comments. "Rest easy, Storm. Your videos made me fall in love with the outdoors. Now you walk the sky trails." The Debel family finds themselves at the center of international attention. Phones never stop ringing. Journalists demand details. YouTubers post reaction videos. Analysts dissect every moment of his last trip. But for his parents, this isn't a headline. It's the loss of their only child. His father, Beul Debel, tells reporters, "His videos are a priceless legacy. But now his camera lies somewhere in the snow, full of the final images. I'd give anything to bring it back." His words carry both grief and respect, a recognition of the work his son had poured himself into. StormOutdoorsy turns into a place of pilgrimage for nature lovers. Views multiply tenfold as people watch his calm, meditative hikes, searching for clues, searching for comfort. His voice, his footsteps, his silences, they now inspire and console, but also remind viewers how fast an adventure can become a tragedy. Survival experts review his case. Their conclusion is unanimous. Storm wasn't reckless. He wasn't chasing likes, wasn't manufacturing danger. With only 1,000 subscribers, there was no fame to be gained. This wasn't content-making gone wrong. It was bad luck, the raw, unpredictable power of nature. But the internet has little mercy. Clickbait headlines spread. YouTuber dies for likes. Blogger killed by his own mistake. For the Debel family, these words cut deep. Their son wasn't a fool. He was careful, skilled, prepared. And still, the storm that hit was beyond human control. Storm's mother, Elizabeth Raidmaker, chooses to turn grief into action. She realizes her son's death can save others, if his story is told the right way. In December of 2024, the family launches an educational campaign called Storm's Legacy. The goal isn't to scare people away, but to teach them how to recognize risks and prepare properly. The campaign partners with meteorological services, rescue organizations, and outdoor gear companies. Together, they create simple, practical guides. How to read weather forecasts, how to choose the right equipment, how to act when emergencies strike. A major focus is what they call the climate risks of our time. Climate change is making weather less predictable. Storms are more violent. temperature swings more extreme, seasons less reliable. What once seemed a safe window for hiking can now turn deadly overnight. The Storm's legacy foundation works with outdoor influencers and travel vloggers to reshape the culture of adventure content. Less spectacle, more education. Less glamorizing danger, more respect for nature's power. Less chasing clicks, more responsibility to the audience. In schools across Belgium and beyond, new lessons on modern survival appear. Kids aren't just taught how to pitch a tent or light a fire. They learn to use satellite communicators, interpret forecasts, and assess their own limits. Storm Debel becomes a case study, proof that even skilled, experienced hikers can fall victim to the elements. Outdoor gear companies also begin to rethink their marketing. Fewer ads shouting, "Conquer the wild," and more emphasis on safety and preparation. Some brands even pledge part of their profits to wilderness safety education. Rescue services in northern countries use Storm's story in their training. His case becomes a textbook example of how fast a situation can spiral and why telling someone your route is a matter of life and death. Instructors highlight the psychological toll of hypothermia, how the mind itself unravels under extreme cold. By the anniversary of his death, Storm's channel has reached 500,000 subscribers. People don't come only for the tragedy. They come to learn from his way of seeing nature. Comments flood in. "Because of Storm, I take my preparation seriously now. His story taught me to respect the weather. I'll never hike without a satellite communicator again." The family keeps searching for his last camera. They plan to return to Lapland in spring, once the snow melts, to comb the area more carefully. They believe the memory card may still hold the final images of his journey, maybe even clues about his last hours. Storm Debel's story has become a lesson for an entire generation of outdoor enthusiasts. It shows that nature makes no exceptions. It doesn't matter how skilled you are, how solid your gear is, how carefully you plan. If the elements decide to test their strength, all you can do is try to endure. But the deepest lesson isn't that nature is dangerous. It's that nature deserves respect and humility. Prepare as best you can, plan as thoroughly as possible, but never forget you are a guest in a world of forces far greater than yourself. And those forces are under no obligation to be kind. A 22-year-old from Belgium set out to show the world the beauty of the wild. In the end, he revealed its power. And maybe that message was just as important.